Delighted to say now we've got 2013 All-Ireland winner and the Sunday game hurler of the year of 2013 and Clare dual star Podge Collins. And we've got the youngest ever winning manager of the Fitzgibbon Cup with Mary I in Jamie Wall as well. Jamie also a former underage dual star with Cork, and the boys are also first cousins. And I believe, Jamie, you may well have faced each other on the pitch back at minor level as well?
Under 14, actually, yeah, in Charleville. I say it was one of the only times we played each other twice, I think. I was an unused substitute when we played G-minor football, so you were safe enough that day. But we were marking each other in an under 14 hurling game, and my mum and Podge's mum are sisters, obviously, and they were kind of saying, oh, my mum, of course, was like, a bit naive, more naive than Podge's, because she had an older son as well, and she was like, Mum was saying, oh God, it's going to be terrible, they're marking each other, and I don't know how they're going to feel about this, and Catherine looked down and was like, yeah, they're not going to have a problem, and two boys just fucking laying into each other and pulling hurling hard. And it was like, I don't know why they were surprised, like they kind of watched it every summer for about 10 years before it, like, and where kind of the games of soccer would only end when someone went in crying. That was kind of, it was like whatever, didn't matter what the score was no next score wins, it was just like once someone goes in crying, it was usually David, to be fair. So,
I was actually a cornerback that day and Jamie didn't score, so I was happy.
Family bragging rights all the way on the Collins side.
Yeah, it's still happening.
May or may not be true, but go on.
We played Mary I then in colleges, and Jamie put on a bit of an exhibition. The Mary I Ultras, there's a few of them here today. They were up in the, what would you call it, the balcony, shouting down.
The Talton building, yeah.
Yeah, so it's a bit of a tough away ground to go to, but we won the game well. But
it wasn't that tough, you beat us by 13 fucking points. Fuck's sake.
I think Jamie scored 11 points or something. We won't say who we were on that day because he's involved this weekend, but anyway.
Well, that's it. I mean, like, you guys have got plenty of links here. Like, I'm thinking back, Jamie, back to that Fitzgibbon Cup team. I think lads that you would have had involved, that you would have managed coming into this, like, you have Conlon on the Clare side, you have Declan Hannon, I think, would have played at the same time as well. You were blessed with some really good players coming through, and you had that All-Limerick final the year that you won it, which was an absolute classic that went extra time as well.
Yeah, the first year we won it. Yeah. As well, yeah. No, like Declan Hannon was man of the match that day. He was full forward that day. He scored like 112, I think, and we had Richie English, we had Dara Donovan, Keane Lynch, and then the following year we had Keane again, Aaron Gillan, who was kind of a unknown kind of under 21 panellist at the time and went on to do what he did. And like, not just that though, like, you know, there was Clare lads involved, Colm Galvin, who obviously has had to retire in the last 12 months, but like played with and against a lot of them, and we've just found, like, you know, Mary I's only over the corner there, like, but like over the course of the couple of years playing there and then coaching there, that you come across a huge amount of the lads that are playing now, either, you know, luckily enough if you have them with you, you know, or unfortunately if they're against you. I remember that year we had the All-Limerick final. We actually played UL in the group game, and they whipped us. Like, and again, like we were talking about, you know, Davy Fitzgerald, who's kind of been repurposed this year for Clare. Big Davy Fitzgerald, the tall one that plays with feet. He's kind of been repurposed for Clare as kind of an all-action goal-scoring kind of midfielder, but he scored 1-3 against us that day, like, so and that was under Brian Lohan as well. So it's not a massive surprise that Brian has gone and kind of repurposed him in that way. So like, you kind of, when these guys come to the fore and you've seen them over the course of those few years, like, you're rarely actually that surprised if you've kind of been looking at them at 21, 22, 23 playing Fitzgibbon Cup level. So yeah, that side of it, like, you're kind of, there's no shocks when they go on to do the things they do then.
Yeah, because like, their versatility is obviously very important. I mean, Conlon's been repurposed as a centre half back, because you mentioned Dave Fitzgerald's got, like, I think it's 217 in the championship so far this year from midfield, which is incredible. Yeah. And then you look at, like, say, Peter Duggan, who's now become a really important target man within that team too. Yeah, like, in a way, not just with O'Donnell coming back, like, the fact that these guys have proved so versatile has given an awful lot to Clare and their success this season. Yeah,
it has, and it's just changed up. We'll say the obvious stick that Clare were probably beaten with for the last 2 years was, if you stop Tony Kelly, you stop Clare. And like, now you have a wing forward, Shane O'Donnell, who's causing massive trouble for teams because they don't actually know how to handle him out there, and he has that bit more space. He's brilliant at winning his own ball. He wins frees. Peter Duggan has always been a handful. Like, he's one of the best in the air there is, because he goes up either hand. He's one of the few fellas that kind of does it. And And then, like, you look at John Conlon, who I have to say I was sceptical enough when he went back centre back, having played with John and seen him as kind of a forward that was really your out and out forward, kind of Ruud van Nistelrooy style forward. Not big fan of passing the ball or any of those things. I'm sure John won't mind me saying that. And if he does, he won't hear it. It'll be fine. But
it's exactly what to hear on the week of a big game.
Exactly,
he switches the podcast tomorrow.
I'm sure John has all the podcasts turned off this week. But like, you know, I have to say I was sceptical, but like, he's gone and filled in a massive problem position for Clare and he's doing it really well. So, you know, when you see, like I said a minute ago, when you see these things, you're not surprised because, you know, you've been exposed to kind of those players and their level.
Podge, are you ever surprised by anything Tony Kelly does? Because we've kind of marvelled at so many things this season where, like, he has a better supporting cast around him, no doubt, this year, which has helped. But you look at, say, the moment where he ends on his back like a turtle the last day and still gets back up and puts it over the bar against Wexford. The sideline cut, even when he missed a few frees against Limerick in the Munster final. He just does such remarkable things with the ball.
Yeah, it's when you train with him and you play with him and you're watching him in a club championship from a very young age and you know what he's capable of, it's not really a surprise to you, but it is magic, like it. But the level of dedication, like, it's nearly boring. The level of dedication that the man puts in, like, he's just the perfect professional. Just, he's always down the field. If he thinks he needs to improve his fitness, he's run the road. Like, the S&C coach, like, 1 year I was in, was kind of telling him, don't run the road, please stop. Just, you're going to damage your body, you're going to get injured. But he puts an enormous amount of time into it, as well as probably being, like, gifted genetically, because, like, the stuff he can do is, like, the fact that he's such a freak athlete is obviously, like, he was obviously gifted from a young age, but yeah, he's just, his time and his skill level, it's incredible. Some of the stuff you see him doing training, you would nearly be like, just, it's unbelievable. But then he does it in championship, you're not too surprised because you've seen so much of it. But he's doing it so long. Some players, when they get such a big name, it puts pressure on the player. But it just seems to be, for him, it's just another day, going to do what I've done, what I've practiced for, and he has done it. He just continues to impress, and he's, like you said, the perfect professional.
Podge, maybe it's unfair of me to ask you this question. You know, Clare going so well this year, semi-final weekend, maybe an All-Ireland final. You sitting here, do you think something like that would have come into your mind? What's it like? What are you wondering? I wish I was there.
I know when I was a young lad, I was a Clare fan, going to all the games, really enjoyed all the games, loved going to the games. And you go through your career and you never really think you're going to play for Clare, probably. Like, some people maybe do, and some people from a young age might have more confidence, but I never really thought I'd play for Clare. And then I was fortunate enough to play for Clare, and it's something you always kind of dream of. And then you play for Clare and you enjoy it, and then sometimes you feel like your time is gone. And let's say on the hurling side of it, that's what I felt. So I was fortunate enough that I got to play football this year. But like I said, I was a fan when I was a kid, and then this year, like, I've gone to all the games. So I went to all the group games, went to the Munster final, went to the Wexford game, and you just be back to...
You don't feel like, oh, gosh.
No, like, it's... even though it was funny, I was talking to Derek Onan, and we were just saying, like, sometimes you might see something happen in the game, and you'd automatically think, like, could I have done anything differently there? But I don't know, I've been in that environment where, like, things aren't going great for you on the field, and you know how hard it is to play inter-county hurling. I find it difficult to hear kind of people when they talk negatively about players in inter-county hurling, like, nearly field, because can be so difficult. But then Derek was saying to me, he was talking to someone, he was like 73, and he said he still feels like, I could have done something there on the field. So Derek said it doesn't go away. So yeah, just when you hear that kind of stuff, but no.
Was it a difficult decision a couple of years ago, though, when you decide to go all in with the football? Like, bear in mind, right, your dad's managing the team, football's been going really well, 2 trips to Croke Park this year. But was it actually a tough call to say, right, I'm going football over hurling, given, like, you've already got a Celtic cross and the hurling behind you? No, like I said, a big Clare fan, like playing hurling football, whatever kind of at the time feels right, I kind of do, and that's kind of it. I don't dwell too much on it.
You did have a great year with the footballers, and commiserations in the weekend only, but the year you've had, I mean, the success you've had back in Championship in Croker since 2016, it has been a good year for you. Yeah,
very disappointing end. Like, Derry definitely, like, were a level above us. And I suppose, like, you're going into the game and you're kind of thinking, like, Derry, who were probably unlucky to stay in Division 2 this year, they're a good side, but performed unbelievably well in Ulster, beating Tyrone, beating Monaghan, beating Donegal. Is an impressive run, but you always kind of think in the back of your head, maybe we could put it up to them, but they completely outclassed us, and we can't complain. We didn't show up at all. It's very disappointing, but that's sport.
Where does the Roscommon win rank up in terms of things in your career? Like, to come back late in the game, Croke Park, first time Clare had won at the venue in nearly 100 years. Like, to have done that must have been huge for you.
What I'd say is, like, it's nearly, we're at a level, like, it's about performance, and like consistent performance is important, and we started the league very well, performing very well, and then we went through a bit of a lull, and that lull kind of, Limerick were better than us in the day, and fair play, they deserved their victory. Didn't play that well against Meath, got over them, and then we performed against Roscommon for probably 40 minutes, and then really kind of switched off 25 minutes. So that was very disappointing. And then to come out with the win, you're happy, but like when you reflect on the year, you kind of see it as a whole, and you'd like to get that more consistent performances throughout the year. If we could replicate that first half against Roscommon more consistently, you'd be more impressive. But yeah, like, listen, it's great winning, but and then you're reflecting the year and whatever, you've nothing really won. So you just kind of look to the club and kind of go again.
You went in the same tunnel as the Armagh lads the other day, and there was no wild scenes at your game.
No, it's a tough couple of weeks now for those players, because like I've been to a lot of GAA games like since I was a kid, and club games, and nasty stuff has gone on. There's no cameras, and it's always very difficult when there's cameras involved, and players should probably be aware of that. But yeah, there's like social media stuff, and even politicians commenting on it. It's probably not nice for the players involved and whatever, but not condoning it. But yeah, it's disappointing, obviously.
I spoke to your dad after the game on the weekend, and he was devastated. I mean, he's there a long time. He's got the utmost respect. Look what he's done with the team. I mean, do you think, have you spoke about it? Has he talked to you about maybe his future with it?
No. I'd say no. It might be the last person to know, but
that's wrong, by the way, because he said to us after the game, "My family are the first people to tell."
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe Sean will find out first. I don't know. Yeah, we'll see. I don't know.
Would you love him to go back?
Yeah, he's done a great job at Clare, and like it's been like he's been there. He's one of the longest. He is the longest serving football manager, I think.
Yeah. He is.
But yeah, we'll see. Like, you can always improve, always get better, and this year obviously very disappointing end. But like, that's completely his decision. I wouldn't comment on it. I'd kind of let him make it up, like the same way he let me make my mind up about stuff. So yeah.
Jamie, as a Cork man, what was your feeling after the second game that took place on Saturday? Because me kind of watching the stand, but my first thought was, first half was okay. They contained Dublin reasonably well, carried a bit of a threat. Second half was a hard watch. 21 minutes without a score.
Yeah. Well, I think we were kind of told we've to kind of tone down all the drink talk. So I don't know if I'm allowed to say that I was in Murty Brown's in Anthony Daly's pub watching the second half. So
having a few soft drinks.
Yeah, I was on the minerals and kind of just was able. There was a guy playing music, so I was able to kind of look at him for most of the second half. To be honest, like, it wasn't a massive surprise the way it went. To be like, I think watching the first half, definitely the first 20 minutes. I actually think if Cork had maybe kicked the ball a small bit more into the full forward line, there was actually joy to be got. They were one-on-one inside there a lot, but Dublin kind of cottoned on to that quick enough. Cork kicked wides that, it just shows, look, right now Cork aren't at that level, and that's not kind of talking out of turn or anything like that. They're in that kind of that rung just below the top 10, I would say. I know the quarterfinals are a last 8, but in reality, I don't think Cork would have beaten Roscommon if they played them in that game with Clare. There's a 9th, there's an 8 team probably ahead of them. Cork are probably that 10 to 14th kind of place.
Did the draw kind of give them a bit of an unfair appearance of their year as well? Like, to get the two teams that come up from Division 3 at home, you couldn't have handpicked a better draw in many ways. Yeah,
I suppose you couldn't, but like equally, I suppose you then get the worst draw I suppose you can get, I would say, in the quarterfinal. I think it's a roughly fair reflection of where they are. I think the greatest reflection of where Cork are is they came 6th in Division 2, which puts you at 14th, isn't it? So you're roughly, they were a point or two off Clare in the league, so you're roughly at that kind of 11th to 14th kind of slot. That's kind of roughly where I would put Cork football right now, certainly with the potential to go higher. But there's huge work has to be done there for Cork to catch up. There's been a lot of years where Cork have had quite a good structure at underage, and I've seen it firsthand. We're very good at getting them from about 14 to 17. Generally speaking, at under 20, especially now with the new rules about players, not playing up and down, Cork have actually got just more bodies, so we're always going to be very strong at those ages. But I wonder, have we got a plan to get them from 20 to 24? Because inter-county football now is gone so physical that very, very rarely is a guy ready at 21, 22. It takes those couple of years. And for the last couple of years, I do know for a fact that there wasn't great aftercare in Cork. like the lads would finish their with county year, and there was no like, you know, what's the plan for us so that we just come back into pre-season ready to train, ready to get better. There was none of that. And I know for a fact that if you go to the top echelon of counties, Dublin, Kerry, Mayo, Tyrone, those counties, that's where they're making differences that maybe the rest of us aren't, you know. And if Cork are going to catch up, you have to, like, it's a saying I would say to people, is like, if you want to catch up to a car that's in front of you, you have to drive faster than that car. It doesn't do to just do the same speed as it. And at the moment, like, for Cork, we're still just getting up to the same speed as the counties that are ahead of us. And we have to overtake them if we want to even get near them. Like, so it was not discouraging this year. They stayed in Division 2. You know, they'd come up. They need to improve an awful lot going forward. But, like, I wouldn't be totally discouraged, but equally, I do think it's going to take time. I don't buy into some of the crap I saw on social media, kind of people talking about, like, Cork winning an under-20 All-Ireland and a minor All-Ireland, you know, more excuses or talk like that. It's like, number one, they won them both in the same year. Number two, those minor players are only like 20 years of age right now, do you know? It's going to take time, and I think if you want something, you know, to work, you have to give it time.
Podge, is there an outstanding candidate for the Sam Maguire right now? Having watched all the quarterfinals last weekend, you got question marks about Dublin and then where Connacht's going to be at, where McCarthy might be at with their fitness, and, you know, varying reports whether he's going to be back for the Kerry game. Kerry still look, you know, a little bit not match sharp because of the breaks that they've had, and, you know, concerns about David Clifford's ankle going into the semi-final now too. And then you got to see Derry, who were like very impressive against you guys in clinical finishing and how well they played. And then Galway look a little bit susceptible to high ball going in the Armagh game. It's one of those years we're going to a semi-final. There's probably a question mark about every team going in now.
Yeah, I suppose it's good for a spectator. From a Galway Derry perspective of looking at that semi-final, I'd find it very hard to call. We've played both this year. Two equally nearly impressive sides in different ways when we played them. Like, even from a Derry perspective, like, we played them in Cusack Park. And in fairness, like, against even Kerry, when we played, I know obviously different years, different teams, everything like that, 2014, 2016, we played Kerry at home. Coming to Cusack Park, I always like felt it gives us a bit of an edge. But, like, it was always like a 3 or 4 point game against Kerry when we got into Cusack Park. Like, even 2014 when they kicked on, like, they have a great year. So Derry coming to Cusack Park to beat us by 9 points, I thought in my head, I was like, this is a very good Derry side. And then they obviously gave us a good beating at the weekend. So I'm very impressed with them, but equally I was impressed with Galway. That's going to be a very close game. I don't know, is it from being around Clare and listening to Kerry people a lot because they're so close? They always kind of do talk, like they do. There's constant talk about them winning the All-Ireland constantly. You're always hearing it. My nana's a good Kerry woman. She'd be delighted to hear me say it. Like, I always kind of, I don't know if that rubs off me, but David Clifford's probably the best player in the country with Conor O'Callaghan probably, but I do just think Kerry are probably that. I'd give probably fancy Kerry to win the All-Ireland if I was to pick one team.
Jamie, do you agree?
Well, he's Nana's favourite, like, that's why, 'cause he plays the game with that, not a hope. No, I hope that Dublin will have too much for them.
Is that just pure Corkness coming out there?
Probably is, yeah. But I think, look,
After everything, I want to see the Dubs there again.
Honestly, like, it's the age-old thing with Kerry. Like, they came out of Munster without a test. They played a substandard Mayo team. Let's call it straight. Like, they beat the lard out of them in the league. They beat them well at the weekend. They were comfortable throughout the weekend. I know you've the same question marks over Dublin, but I just think they're doing it in such an impressive way. I'm hopeful that Dublin will have too much for them, but like I said, it might just be more Corkness than anything else, and lack of just more desire, what I want to see happen rather than what might happen. On
the dual side, Jamie, what do you make of Eoin O'Donnell going in with the Dublin footballers? Because the game was so dead at the point he came on, I pretty much just watched what he did for the last 10 minutes after he came on. Because it was 8 or 9 points up when he came on. I thought he was actually going to win the inside forward line. So he'd been playing for his club half forward and he needed someone to go in behind. In the end, he kind of swept and he did his work pretty well. But it's an intriguing prospect where you go from being the captain and such an important player on the hurling team to potentially giving that up if he wants to go in with the footballers next year, because I reckon the footballers will want him in from the start next season.
And I'd agree with you. I reckon that was part of the move. I would guess, like, you know, not to be too cynical, but like I would say that was part of the thinking, and probably part of the thinking with bringing him on at the weekend. I don't know. Maybe I'm totally wrong. Like, I don't know. Would he be the first port of call next week against Kerry, like, do you know what I mean? If that game's in the melting pot, are they going to turn around to a guy who's played 10 minutes of senior intercounty football? Like I said, could be totally wrong, and he could be absolutely tearing it up inside there. But like, I think it's interesting to see him go in. He has that choice of being the main man on a hurling team or going into a football team. But like, the thing that you have to, I suppose that, the obvious elephant in the room is, like, without trying to be too down on Dublin, they're not going to win anything in the hurling. And like, I'm just being frank there, like, they're not. They're the fourth best team in Leinster, so they're not going anywhere there. There's a legitimate chance every year you play with the Dublin footballers now that you win an All-Ireland or 7, like, so like, for me it makes perfect sense that Eoin O'Donnell owes nothing to Dublin hurling. He's been an incredible player for them. If Eoin O'Donnell thinks I might be good enough to be an intercounty senior footballer, maybe not starting, maybe coming on, maybe he might think, like, it's time to try and do that for something different. And I think more luck to him, more power to him. If he's good enough footballer to be looked at there, and obviously there are obvious physical attributes, a guy like Eoin O'Donnell, like, you can look at him and say, I can see how he'd be a good footballer at intercounty level. He's 6'3" or 4", he's athletic, he's quick. Like, you don't play in the full back line in intercounty hurling if you can't move over 10, 15, 20 metres. So, like, it's a no-brainer in that, like, it's worth trying. From a Dublin perspective, we're here talking about Eoin O'Donnell. He may not see grass against Kerry. Do you know what I mean? It may be a masterstroke. I don't know from Desi, But I think, like you said, I agree with you 100%. To me, it does look like give Eoin O'Donnell a taste of big days in Croke Park, playing football next winter. I would imagine, the phone call is, Owen, do you want to be part of this going forward? It's a very good time to try poach one of the hurler's best players to play football, and I think that's what's happened. And if I was a betting man, I would say it'll likely be successful.
Is it fair to the players that are there at the moment, maybe all year, putting in all the hard work, Podge, putting in all there in the winter and the rain, and then he swans in last minute, he gets 10 minutes?
It's not really swan in because of the level of dedication that he probably gives. I know that there's probably 7 or 8 full forwards in Ireland right now in hurling that are delighted with the fact that they don't have to look at Eoin O'Donnell's face on their hurling field next year, if that is the case. Like, so he's top class as a hurler. So there is going to be some happy intercounty managers and full forwards that he's gone to the football if he does stay at the football.
And like you were just saying,
very dedicated. He
hasn't been swanning around, to be fair. Like, I think it might be different if he had maybe, been off on a jolly up for a couple of months and, like, they were like, oh, this lad has just waltzed in. But, like, he has been representing Dublin. He has been training since, last November, December. He's coming in as a, lesser of equals, but still, on a relatively equal footing to the lads. So I don't think that would be as big an issue.
As a player, though, would you not feel a bit hard done by if you were the one sitting on the bench?
I in his case, I really don't think so. He's in such good physical condition. He's been the epitome of, like, a dedicated player for Dublin hurlers so consistently. He's probably got massive respect from a lot of those Dublin footballers. And a lot of those Dublin footballers play hurling as well, and they'd be well aware of him, like, even from playing football on the club level, but hurling as well. So I'm sure they'll be absolutely delighted to have someone like him around the dressing room. I think he'd be a massive addition.
There'll be 1 to 3 fellas pissed off. Like, the guy who loses his spot in the 26 will probably be pissed off, and the guy who maybe doesn't get a run when Eoin O'Donnell gets a run where he might think, I would have gotten a run there, might be pissed off. But there'll be 25 other fellas who just want to do what it takes to win a trophy. And at the end of the day, the old John Giles thing is, like, like, would he kill his granny to win? Like, like, they don't care. Like, they just want to win Sam Maguire. So they just, I don't think there'll be a major issue in the Dublin camp over it.
I think in fairness to Desi as well, when it comes to the chairs, different circumstances. So he's getting into the match at 26 because of the injuries that they have at the moment. Their panel's more stretched than it's been in recent years, and also because of the circumstance of the split season and Dublin going out early. It is next year, I think, Podge, when it becomes a live issue rather than now. I'd say they're probably okay with it now, but a lot of Dublin hurlers, it's going to be difficult for them even to go back in now, I'd say.
I don't think so. I think if, no one knows what his mindset is. Like, he could be like, I'm going to play football this year, so when I go back to the hurlers next year, like, we don't know. So it's complete speculation. So as the lads in the Live Tour says, I don't comment on speculation. So I'll just leave it at that.
Just before we finish up, Podge, to bring around our chat around the hurling, Clare football, what is the ceiling or what is the hope from here? Because you've become a very consistent Division 2 team in recent years. I almost feel like you've been slightly patronised, where people will go, Colin Collins got them to a good level within Division 2. But like, you've realistically been at this good level now for a little while. What's the next thing that's now required?
I suppose it's always a difficult one, I feel, in a dual county, like that is probably, it is more hurling, more young lads probably growing up do like good folks in the hurling. Like, even I was thinking about today, you see with a club team like Ballyea, and you've got like Carl O'Connor, who's midfield in the football, Pierce Lillis, who's wing forward in the football, Aaron Griffin, corner forward in the football, Killian Brennan, full back in the football, all playing with that club team and all playing very well, but probably wouldn't have given, let's say, the same level of dedication to hurling as someone like Paul Flanagan or Jack Brown or Tony Kelly would. So, like, you're in those kind of split counties, you're not going to always get your best 15 on the field. Whatever way you look at it, like you see, like Kilkenny, they'll constantly produce, they constantly compete, because everyone in Kilkenny, with the exception of a small group, play all hurlings. Kerry, it's predominantly football, and that's the way it is. You're going to get a lot of the best players playing football. So it is always going to be a challenge, because you're competing with that. It's like Derry are predominantly football. So, but like, you look at the likes of Derry, and you would take like inspiration from a team like that came from Division 4, got their house in order, came to Division 3, came to Division 2. Won an Ulster title, and are playing some excellent football. So we've got some like excellent players. Like Owen Cleary's as good as what's around. Jane Malone, excellent. Like David Tuberty still going strong at like 36 and just a class player. So I don't know. We haven't had that conversation yet, but
I don't know.
There's that an awkward conversation to have with your dad if he is staying on? Is that a dinner conversation?
Is Podge staying on, or if Cullum's staying on?
Well, she just said that you stayed on.
I said David Tuberty.
Oh, my apologies, sorry.
A few years to catch up with David, I don't know, but yeah. Listen, it is hard to know. Every year you're optimistic and you're hopeful, we do have some great young lads coming in the panel this year, so hopefully they kick on and push us on again next year and see where we go.
And before you sit down, your former hurling teammates, are they going to do it this weekend?
I don't know. It's it's going to be, like, it's cliche enough, but it's going to be a very close game. Like, I suppose what Clare probably have to realise is that regardless of what's going on in Munster and how well we've been performing against Wexford, it was probably a performance where we didn't reach the levels we had reached in Munster, and it nearly cost us. And thankfully, like, Wexford kind of started making a few mistakes. They weren't making through the game, and then we kind of came into it, and Aaron Chandler clicked, and we got through that game. If we play like that against Kilkenny in Croke Park, we could be in trouble. But you're just hopeful we'll get a repeat of the form we showed in Munster, and Kilkenny will be thinking, right, we've played in the Leinster final in Croke Park, we've won against a good Galway team by 5 or 6 points. They're kind of peaking, I suppose, at the right time in their own heads. So it's going to be a close game. It's going to be very interesting. Like, there's no way you're going to tell a Kilkenny person that Clare are going to beat them in Croke Park, but we'll do everything we can, I suppose.
We'll get Paul Murphy's opinion on that in a moment. It's just Clare's second game at Croke Park since they lifted the Lee McCarthy back in 2013, where Podge was a key player in the team. Podge Collins, thanks a million for joining us on stage. Put your hands together for Podge.